So welcome. You are in the right place if you're ready to break the loop of emotional highs and lows and just be free from the emotional roller coaster or disconnection without needing to keep trying that next best wellness fad. So this training, it's here to teach you how to navigate your emotions. So hi, I'm Becky and I am founder of Emotional Health School, and in this training I'm going to show you exactly how my clients can conquer daily triggers so that they can find inner peace, and the exact 3 tools that we use to empower them to get there, as well as lots of other juicy bonuses along the way. If you are done with past events creeping up on you and your emotions just controlling all of your thoughts and your feelings, and you are done unconsciously falling into those old unhealthy coping mechanisms, then this training is for you. This isn't just, another obvious training with information that you probably already know or woo-woo concepts. Everything that we teach has had years of extensive research and has been found to be effective in treating anxiety, depression, PTSD, and addiction. So, it's a really healthy mix of science and spirituality. With that, I will say, this training isn't just for what we call big T trauma. What so many studies are showing us now is that prioritizing your emotional health is beneficial to help you manage everyday stress, which will improve anyone's life fulfillment. Providing or working on our emotional health, it provides us the ability to approach any challenge without fear of a breakdown, because ultimately, if we can navigate how we feel on the inside, what I call our inner landscape, there's nothing externally that we can't handle. So this training is really built to help you gain insights on how you can overcome any emotional challenge. I would highly recommend that you watch until the end, because we will also be doing a very special beginner's subconscious healing type exercise together, so you can start to feel, what is really possible outside of your conscious mind. We also have a practical challenge throughout this training which you can take away so you can start to become more aware of your emotions. We also have a very special invite at the end, so make sure to stick around for that. Now, I know in society we have a lot of distractions, but this information, it could really change your life, and I don't want you to miss anything. So my invitation to you here in this moment is to make a commitment to yourself, turn your phone on airplane mode, and to have complete attention, because I have so much gratitude for you being here, and I really value and respect your time. So I would love it if, we can just make the most out of this time together. If we haven't met yet, you might be wondering, who is this woman on the internet telling me to turn off my phone? So I just wanted to give my story quickly. So, like I mentioned, hi, my name is Becky, and although this is a very happy, fun, silly picture, my story really starts when I was 9 years old. So, I experienced a very close bereavement and at a very young age, and, this flipped my whole reality upside down. So, everything that little 9-year-old knew as safe was taken away overnight. And my way, or my body's way of coping and trying to help me to feel safe for 18 years was numbing out and disconnecting from all of my emotions. I overworked, I overdrank, and if you ask anyone, they would have said on the outside, without sounding big-headed, that I was quite successful. I had a good job, I was getting promotions, I had a nice car, a nice house. But the issue is I didn't listen to my emotions, which had really devastating effects. I suffered with chronic sickness, migraines, vertigo, kidney infections, which landed me in hospital, UTIs, all of the above. But I just kept going strong. This boss bitch mentality that you hear thrown around now. Because I had this mindset of, I've been through so much that nothing can faze me. And the next moment, I went from having that mindset to my reality flipping all over again a few years ago, to laying on the bathroom floor, completely powerless, none of my muscles working, having a very, very severe panic attack. And I remember so well that moment of feeling trapped in my head, like frightened for my life, essentially. And it was in that moment that I realised that my emotional body had been screaming to be listened to, and that I'm the only one responsible for listening to it. But I had never been taught how. Most of us, 99% of the world, have never been taught how, and it dawned on me that in school, by our parents, parents, we've forgotten our innate ability and birthright to feel all of our emotions, the full spectrum, and how to handle them in a healthy way. And this is where Emotional Health School was born, to really fill that gap and to help others feel and navigate their own emotions, to alleviate suffering, disconnection, physical issues essentially as well, to help us feel joy, inner peace and genuine fulfillment. Now, before I waste anybody's time, I'd like to be really honest about who this training is not for. So this training is not for you if you don't care about your emotional health or well-being. Let me just move my little bubble head up here. If you don't care about your emotional health and well-being. So I don't want to spend my energy persuading you that you need to care about your emotional health. And I know there's a really big difference between people who really care about their emotional health and happiness and are just a bit stuck and can't really see a way out, versus people who really don't care and just want to be fixed because their partner tells them that they need to be fixed, for example. This training is also not for you if you want someone to heal you. So my personal belief system is that healing, it's not done on the outside, okay? It's an inside job, and I don't believe that anybody can heal us. Only we can heal ourselves. It's incredibly helpful to have an expert help you guide there, which is my job, which is why I'm here. But healing happens in those daily moments. When you're triggered in those daily moments, and you can tap into your power to break that pattern. Not in a 7-day retreat where some new age self-proclaimed healer can fix all of your troubles, because that just doesn't exist. And this training is also not for you if you have a closed mind. So healing is really difficult and challenging when someone is skeptical and pessimistic and waiting to be proved right about something not working. I find that clients really get the best results when they have trust and willingness to try something with an open mind. And usually these are the type of people that have been to talk therapy or tried meditation, but they keep finding themselves back in that same place. Also, just a quick disclaimer, if you are experiencing any severe mental health challenges, I continue with this training. It could absolutely be beneficial for you, but I also like to advise that you also seek help from a licensed professional. Okay, so just before we get into it, I wanted to say that throughout this training, if you have any, what we call in coaching, aha moments or any feedback for me, I invite you to DM me on Instagram at Emotional Health School, because I just love talking to you and hearing all of your stories. Now, I want to invite you to see and introduce you exactly who this training is for. So meet the disconnected, ambitious woman. So she is someone who is dealing with what I call emotional constipation. Very visual. We need to make healing fun. So, she's doing extremely well in life. She lives for travelling, having a nice home, and is a career woman. And she wants to prove to not only herself, but to everyone else that she can handle everything. But she does this at a cost. So she has bottled up her feelings, and she finds it easier to suppress her feelings instead of actually facing them. She often finds herself on autopilot, just getting through the task list, and can often feel removed and numb in life. Sometimes this can look like fake smiling just to get through this, because happiness will come. And, she also feels like she should be grateful because she has things in life that other people don't have, but she can't shake this sense of unfulfillment. She finds at times her old wounds can creep up on her, and before you know it, she's 7 episodes deep in Baby Reindeer in one night because she's trying to avoid her feelings. On occasion, her disconnection can quickly escalate to overwhelm, and what I've got written here is emotional diarrhea. I'm sure you can imagine what I mean by that. But essentially, when we are in this state of emotional diarrhea, the anxiety is high, the stress is high, and it can really express itself in unpredictable ways, and it can lead to feelings of being exhausted and drained. So she has realised that she needs to prioritise her emotions, but she just doesn't quite know where to start, and she feels stuck with these repetitive patterns. And what she really wants is simple tools, not only to cope with her emotions, but to feel fulfilled and lighter without having to sit in a meditation for 10 hours. So, maybe this sounds familiar to you, or you know someone that has reached this point and you really want to help preventing yourself from getting to that point, or maybe you're already there. So this training is exactly what you need, because the good news is that we can heal all of this, and I'm going to give you the tools to do that, which are very simple to help emotionally navigate any challenge. Now, to really understand why the disconnected, ambitious woman has got herself in this position, we need to look at the beliefs that have led her there. So a lot of these beliefs, they may be hidden in subconscious, and because they're hidden out of our awareness, they require us to be really honest with ourselves. One of the tools that we use within our program helps to identify our emotions, or what we call our level of consciousness, which drives our thoughts, feelings, behaviours and beliefs. You may hear me saying this throughout the training a few times, so you don't need to remember it all now, but we're really going to start decoding these beliefs now by understanding what level of consciousness is associated to these beliefs. So we're going to get started right away. So the first belief would be, I don't have time, or I'm too busy to dedicate time to my emotional health. Now, this is one that I hear all of the time talking to ambitious women, but I love to hear this one because if I asked you to show me the screen time on your phone, it may indicate that you have some time or may not. Most of the time it does. And, it's usually a matter of priority and not time. The disconnected, ambitious woman can tend to fill her time with a lot of busyness, a lot of working, socialising, that sort of thing. And, it can be really exhausting, and it's not sustainable and can lead to burnout. The level of consciousness with this belief is usually fear of failing to meet other commitments, fear of potentially trying something new and sort of wasting your valuable time, which we subconsciously or consciously choose to put other things as a priority. Fear carries the energy of 100, but we'll go into what that means later. So the reality here with this belief is that prioritizing your emotional health doesn't take up that much time. In my program, it's only half an hour for 30 days. We have a few deeper sessions, and then it's woven into every single moment of every single day. And if we don't prioritize our emotional health, then other areas of our life tend to suffer. Whether you're prioritizing it through my program or somewhere else, it's always a really good use of your time and energy. And, this is because when you approach challenges with peace and reason, which is higher levels of consciousness, as opposed to stress and overwhelm, you are more effective in everything that you do because you can approach it consciously. Okay, so the second belief that we have here is, I can handle these feelings on my own. I always have. And if pride could have a voice, it would say this. So there is a subconscious belief that if we ask for help, then it means that we have failed in some way, and this can really put a big dent in our pride. In reality, seeking help to navigate your emotional landscape really shows strength and growth. And I'd like you to ask yourself this, do you think the top leaders of the world handle everything by themselves? The answer is no. If you look at anyone that is a successful leader, I can guarantee that they have found ways to drop their pride and ask for help and to seek assistance, because we all need support at the end of the day. Okay, third up, we've got, I've always been this way and I can't change. So the level of consciousness associated to this is an apathetic state. So this is where it's easier to believe that we are stuck or we are unable to change rather than actually make the change. The reality is we are all very powerful beings, and we can make ourselves really small by believing that we cannot change. We forget that we've all got this power to change and grow beyond belief, no matter what our past is. And part of my job is helping you believe that, because I've seen it with my own eyes time and time again. Okay, the third belief that the disconnected ambitious woman has is, I'm scared I will be judged. And as a hard worker, she may subconsciously see that working on her mental health is seen as failing. So this reflects a fear, again, a fear of social rejection, a fear of criticism, which again is that level of consciousness of fear. And I'd just like to say that there is a real, genuine awakening of people happening, especially after COVID. I think so many people have realised that we need to feel within our community rather than isolate and numb out and disconnect. Otherwise, we just run into mental and physical health issues, and you only need to look at the stats to understand that. If we don't advocate for healing out of fear of judgment, then we are setting a standard to the world that it's okay to stay within this space. And I just cannot explain how important it is that we all take responsibility for our own healing, our own health, our own emotional health, and spreading that to the future generations. Because the reality is when you heal, you help everyone around you heal. It creates this huge domino effect, not just in your circle, but in the world. And instead of being judged, you actually set a standard for inspiration. Okay, so what does the disconnected, ambitious woman really want? So she wants to feel inner peace, joy, and genuine fulfillment. She wants to feel empowered and in control of her emotions, and that means really choosing how she responds. She wants to feel genuine fulfillment from life instead of chasing those material items or waiting for the next holiday. And she wants to be able to let go of the past and be able to think about it without feeling any pain, instead of being scared of it. And finally, she wants to be there not only for herself, but for her relationship and from her family from a full cup instead of from this place of stress. So, who does this? Who can feel this way? Now, this is exactly what I call the balanced, ambitious woman. And yes, she is balanced and ambitious at the same time. She can handle any stressful situation that comes her way, and she can consciously decide how she is feeling. Now, what she has done to make this happen is she has prioritized her healing with guided subconscious healing. She's rewired her own brain to learn how to be her own healer for life. And she's able to transform the energetic feelings in that moment of trigger using consciousness work and letting go. Now, quickly, before we get into it, I wanted to show you how prioritizing my internal world and allowing myself to feel the painful stuff, which you can see on the left, I'd previously avoid all of this painful stuff, and this work has just completely transformed my life. So like I said, on the left we have me. This is me after my first and most intense panic attack, and this is the moment that I described earlier where you can just visibly see that I was not okay. On the right, you have a few years later where I had really dedicated a lot of my energy to my inner work and, actually doing the things and doing the practical things on the outside. When I did the inner work, I was able to do things that scared me, and my whole world just changed for the better. So, if we compare the before and after, so before I was scared to speak my mind and I was in fear that I would offend someone. I carried a lot of shame around using my voice and my voice not being worthy enough to hear. In the after picture, if we fast forward till today, I'm able to share my story, and I receive so many messages about how that inspires people. And I know that that totally outweighs the place that I was staying in where I was hiding myself and not letting myself be visible. So before physical health, like I mentioned earlier, antibiotics. I was regularly having to leave work because my body was not physically functioning with the vertigo, the UTIs, the physical vomiting. My body was just screaming for me to listen. And if we fast forward till today, I'm able to listen to my body and I don't experience any of these signs anymore. And if I do, I'm able to catch them in the very early stages and give love to that side of my body. In the before picture, so, I used to drink a lot of alcohol and feel a lot of anxiety the next day. And I was just in constant burnout, fight or flight, hyperarousal. I was feeling that if I wasn't busy, then I wasn't achieving. If we fast forward till after, I've only had 4 drinks in 2 years, and I just feel so much more balanced, and I don't carry this guilt whenever I prioritize myself, and the FOMO is no longer real. And then just lastly, in the before, so my relationship used to live on the constant edge of separation. I would also avoid a lot of people that I loved within my family. But if we fast forward to now, I'm engaged with a happy, healthy, communicative relationship, if that's a word, and we have very healthy conflict resolution, and I'm not hiding or avoiding anyone out of fear. So how was all this possible? So within all of my teachings, there are 3 elements that we'll journey through together. First one, we have consciousness awareness. Second up, we have learning how to let go. And thirdly, we have subconscious healing. So we will go through these one by one. So we will go into this into a little bit more detail earlier, but like I mentioned, our level of consciousness that we carry around at any given time or every moment is fixed and determined by our emotions. And our level of consciousness, it explains all of our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and beliefs, like we went through earlier. So every thought is driven by a frequency. It's driven by a level of consciousness. So we cannot have a thought without having a driving level of consciousness at the core underneath it. And this is out of our awareness most of the time. If I use the example of scared to drive a car, so fear would be the level of consciousness at the core. This will then push up thoughts around how the car is scary, and if we drive the car, then it will just start making us think of everything that could go wrong and how dangerous it is and all of those sort of things. Then the associated behavior would be to not drive the car, right? So you can see how this fear level of consciousness is driving everything, that all of the thoughts that are coming to our mind and everything that we're actually doing in real life. So really this map, it's good for awareness. So there's a lot of evidence in neuroscience that supports that awareness of our emotions vastly improves our mental and physical health. Because without awareness, we're sort of walking around blind. When we've got that awareness, we can really harness its power to change what is there. So, like I say, we use this practical tool, and this is just a very slimmed down version. There's a deeper version within the program, but for the purpose of this training, we're using a slimmed down version. And it's a predictable and easy to understand compass, and it has been tried and tested over decades. Really, the main goal here, like I said, is to increase self-awareness. So to understand, why am I getting triggered when I look through someone's Instagram and they're doing something that I've not achieved, and we feel that jealousy. That is all shown on this map. What level of consciousness is driving that jealousy? You may also think, why am I on the sofa and I find myself suddenly eating a packet of biscuits and it's disappeared, and I don't like doing that. That's not a behaviour that I like. We again can use that behaviour to understand what is your level of consciousness and what is driving you to unconsciously eat a whole packet of biscuits. So when we are aware of what we're dealing with, we have a much better chance of navigating life. We wouldn't drive a boat without a map or a compass, and that is exactly what consciousness work gives you. And a really good example of altered states is breath work or plant medicine. So if you're struggling to really understand, how can I quickly get to an altered state of consciousness, just think about what happens to people when they take plant medicine or they have conscious connected really deep breathwork session. And if you want to talk about either of those things, they are two of my favourite topics outside of consciousness and subconscious healing. So yeah, they are, linked to consciousness work. So there are two very big hidden challenges that is out of most people's awareness with consciousness work, which I wanted to call out. So I'll talk about this a lot in examples throughout this training because it's something that has been really prominent to me, which is psychosomatics. So psychosomatics, for those who don't know, it's the medical science that looks at the interplay between the mind and the emotions and the body, because essentially our body will talk when we're not listening to the emotions that are coming to our awareness, or emotions that are there but out of our awareness. Because essentially what will happen is the emotion or our way of interpreting the outside world will get stored in our body if we don't deal with it effectively. So one good example that I have, I mentioned that I have suffered a lot with vertigo, and that was because I had this program to just keep working at all costs. I had this desire. You can see desire there is when you're yearning and you keep going, and it doesn't matter what happens to anyone else because that is your desire. And I had the desire to keep working, and it got to the point where I'd be on the computer for 12 hours a day. My vertigo would start kicking in. Okay, I wasn't listening to my emotions, but my body was telling me that I wasn't okay. And yeah, it got to the point where I couldn't physically see because the vertigo was so bad. Talk about disconnection. The second hidden challenge that I wanted to talk about with consciousness work, which most people aren't aware of, is attractor fields. So if we think of our emotions like a radio frequency, our level of consciousness is a frequency that can connect to other things in our outside world. So there's this good old saying that worrying is praying for something that we don't want to happen. If we're in that worry, in that fear, we are then giving out a transmission, if you like, a frequency to actually pull in those things that we're scared of happening. So when we're subconsciously tuned into that fear, we are totally attracting the fearful things to happen. So again, it's really important to understand, what are we attracting into our life with the attractor fields. There are tons of other benefits to consciousness work, but I guess just to run through a few. So improved relationships, when we can understand ourselves better, we can then understand other people better. We can understand our parents better, our partners, our kids, etc. You'll find when you start doing this work that you can start to see what level of consciousness other people are carrying. And then you realise that it's important to not judge that because they are on their own path. Another benefit that I would like to point out is that this really does break the loop of the emotional highs and lows. It stops the spiral because you can see with such clarity what is driving all of your behaviours without getting lost in that narrative and going down that spiral. It also helps us to understand our decision making. So something I used to always love to say is this decision driven by love or is it driven by fear? You can see love is higher up on the map versus fear, which is lower down. The lower down on the map that we are, the more distorted our views are of the world. So we really want to be making decisions out of love or even reason rather than out of fear. The other thing is stress reduction. So the higher up we get on this map, the less stressed that we are in life, the less external circumstances can phase us. And finally, just spiritual growth. So you can see enlightenment up there at the top if that is your thing. But a lot of people, they don't actually use this tool to reach enlightenment. That is not always the goal. So the key lesson here is bringing awareness to your level of consciousness is fundamental in everything that we do. And if the only thing that you take away from today is understanding this key lesson, then it's going to be totally worth it. We're going to go into a bit more detail on this later, where I'm going to give you that challenge to take away. So my question for you is, how do you navigate your emotions? Oh, let's move my bubble head again. So how do you navigate your emotions? What most people do is one of these three things. So firstly, they can suppress their emotions. This is when we push the emotion down or we bottle it up. And I've learnt this lesson the hard way on multiple occasions. One of them being, when I was younger, I would eat food and instantly throw it up. So I couldn't keep any food down, and it got to a stage where I couldn't go to school and I was severely underweight. I had a very, very, very restricted diet. I couldn't eat a carrot, I couldn't eat anything with oil in it. And the hours and nights that I spent in hospital getting prodded and poked, putting, my poor mum through all of this, having to watch her child go through this, and I didn't understand what was happening. And not once did a doctor say, do you think that this is linked to suppressed grief? And as an adult, I now know that my body is trying to tell me when I'm suppressing an emotion, because I just get this sick feeling in my throat. And instead of bottling it up and suppressing it, I can bring awareness to it, listen to it, and use different methods. So second up, we have expression. So this is when we haven't fully dealt with an emotion and it can express itself in uncontrolled ways. So maybe you say something that you don't mean in the heat of the moment, or you make a passive aggressive comment to your partner and you know that this just isn't like you, and usually expression can carry a lot of regret afterwards. It's sort of like your cup is full and it's overflowing, and you're trying to empty the cup but it keeps getting filled up with water. Historically, expression was really seen as a healthy way of managing our emotions, and you might have heard of those rage rooms where people go in with a hammer and they smash loads of glasses. But a lot more recent studies have shown us that expression can actually only be a temporary release of emotions, as the patterns can sneak back up on us. Okay, the third way of navigating emotions is avoidance. So avoidance is probably the most common way of handling our emotions in society today. So, we've got all of this phone and technology. So typically we can avoid with doom scrolling, we can avoid with binge watching Netflix, binge eating, any sort of addiction tends to be avoidance. Deliveroos, God, when I was in this level of stress, the amount of Deliveroos that I would get. So I would also drink so much alcohol, every single weekend would be drinking. I would just look forward to a Friday night, and that's what I lived for. And I would get so much anxiety the next day from avoiding my feelings in this way. Now again, when we can get more conscious of these patterns, then we can adopt the fourth option, which is letting go, like the balanced, ambitious woman would do. So learning how to let go. Once you are aware of your level of consciousness, what's the next thing that you can do? And how many times do we feel something and then we approach it with suppression, expression, or avoidance because we're in so much overload we don't really know what to do next? So we teach something here called the letting go method, which can be used as a practical tool in any moment of trigger. So letting go, it doesn't mean that you stop feeling. It means that you observe your emotions without letting them control you. It's about acknowledging the pain and allowing yourself to feel it. And the feeling part is what is so crucial, because we need to feel it to heal it. Love that saying. We need to feel it instead of intellectualizing. And intellectualizing can be something that we can do when we want to be fixed and we want to read loads of information and understand everything, and we tell ourselves in our brain, I shouldn't be feeling scared right now, or I should get over it. So what we do is we train our bodies to feel, and this allows the energy to move freely within our bodies until we're ready to let it pass. And when we do, we can see things from a completely different perspective, because I had a client that, I think I mentioned her later in the training, but she would go from feeling sad or really down to using the letting go method and just laughing in a matter of seconds. So with this simple method, this is what we use to rewire our brain and harness its neuroplasticity. So this means that our brain has the most amazing ability to change how we respond to challenges, change those pathways and those automated patterns to break them. So I always say that most of this work is actually unlearning our learnt programs. Yes, the letting go method is a framework, but it really is a tool that we can use to unlearn and rewire everything so that in the future we have a different emotional response. So the key lesson that I would love you to take away from this is that we've all got the power to change how we react to triggers. It's really important to feel in order to start that process, and there's one simple tool that can help achieve that. So here is what the disconnected ambitious woman would say right now. Isn't the point to not be emotionless and let go? The balanced ambitious woman would say, the goal is to really choose how I feel, and I can learn from the emotions as an observer instead of letting the emotions control me. I've seen so much on social media lately around learn from your emotions, but it's really so hard to do that when you're spiraling. And when you can let go, there's so much more clarity that you gain, and you can see things so much clearer without avoiding the situation or waiting a really, really long time to have to learn from that emotion. So here are just some of the screenshots of what my clients have said about letting go, just to give you a little bit more of an idea. So we've got Victoria in the top left here, who said that this has been completely life-changing, and learning the letting go method has made her feel so much lighter. The Letting Go online course has really taught her how to let go of lower level emotions, and she's able to do the method whenever she feels emotions come up throughout the day. And this is the person that often finds herself either smiling or laughing, or just having a completely opposite perspective on the situation. We've then got Jen here in the bottom right, who said learning the letting go method has been completely eye-opening and life-changing. So when Jen came to me, she was feeling removed and numb in life. But this has really helped her to navigate and process a difficult shift that she was experiencing, and to let go of fear and guilt that has stopped her from feeling happy from herself in a really long time. So I used to use the first 3 unhealthy coping mechanisms because I had some subconscious beliefs which were really holding me back. So the first one was that my feelings were not important enough to heal, that I didn't understand that investing in my emotions would impact all other areas of my life. And I thought that if I just got another promotion at work or travelled to South America, then I would be happy. The lessons that I learned from this whole healing journey is that feelings are important and are in fact at the core, if not the key driver in everything we feel and everything we think, everything we do, and everything that we believe. And for me, and for many other people, investing in our emotions is the best investment that we can ever make. It gives us the ability to tap into our superpower to shift our internal world, which means that you can just start to see and feel the magic around you. And finally, it sounds cringy, but joy truly does come from the inside and not in the present moment, and not in the constant planning and rushing. The main thing that I learned was that genuine fulfillment and inner peace, and taking responsibility, learning how to navigate challenging emotions, and allowing myself to heal from the past is the best way to get this and to get this genuine fulfillment. So the final element here is subconscious healing. What if I said to you that throughout this whole training, it has been in your conscious mind, you have been in your prefrontal cortex part of your brain. And this has been engaging and working away, trying to learn and digest and intellectualize this information. In our one-to-one time together, we don't work from the conscious mind at all, and all of our work is from the subconscious. And this is what makes our time together so unique and different, because it takes the pressure off of that constant thinking. And this is what we're really trying to teach, right? And we're trying to teach to feel. We are teaching people to feel, and not this constant information overload. So what is subconscious healing? I love to use this old school computer analogy that we got here. So essentially our subconscious is like the back end of the computer. It's the mother hub, and it is controlling 95% of our automated patterns, beliefs, emotional responses. And yes, this is where our level of consciousness is kept. Most of the time it's out of our awareness, which is why we work on bringing it to our awareness into the conscious mind. So the conscious mind is the front end of the computer. It's what we can see. And our conscious mind, or our ego, it likes to think that it's in control all of the time, and it knows everything it's doing and why. But it's literally impossible for our conscious mind to always be in control, If you think of all of the millions of pieces of data that is around us in each moment, our responses are so automated, from brushing our teeth in the morning to seeing a spider and being scared. That fear is a learnt pattern. We're not born with that. And our brain learns and stores all of these ways of perceiving the outside world within our subconscious to automate it for the next time. What do I mean by automated programs? So what I mean is that, again, sticking with the computer analogy, throughout our life, throughout every moment, we are learning responses and storing them as programs. One example is between the ages of 0 to 7. This is when our subconscious is the most programmed, right? We're absorbing so much information and learning. And if, for example, within that time, we were told off for crying, our crying made our parents uncomfortable, and then they told us off. We would then learn a response that crying is a bad thing, and maybe it might create a bit of fear around crying and make us scared to cry because we're scared of other people's responses. Another example of a program is that maybe when we were 20 years old, a partner may have told us that we are fat, or, said some sort of horrific word like that. And that would then create a lot of shame around how we felt about our bodies, and we can carry that throughout our lives. So how does it work? So subconscious session, it's usually 90 minutes to 2 hours in a one-to-one session. I have had a few lasting up to 4 hours. So what we do in a session is we get your brain into a theta brain state. So you can see here these poorly collated squiggles, and these are here to demonstrate brain frequency. Let me move my bubble again. So we can see that with beta, that's when we're in problem solving, and our brain is, the waves are really, really going at a quick pace. And this is why we can get so exhausted when we're trying to learn, and we stay in that state for too much of the time. Alpha, we are relaxing. You can see they're still waving, but at not such a quick rate. And our aim when we're in subconscious healing is to relax our brain into a theta state. So again, that's even slower than alpha and beta. Theta is in between relaxing and sleeping. So typically when we're in this state, it's the way that our brain gets when we're potentially meditating or, being creative. And we do this because within this state, we can access your subconscious, and we can access all of the intuition and all of the amazing messages and programs that are stored in there. And our work together is to release those trapped emotions and to rewire any hidden programs. It's really important for me to not over-explain subconscious healing, because our ego thinking mind can get involved, and it tries to understand and make sense and tick boxes and create this expectation, when in reality everyone's session is so deeply unique and so different that no two sessions are the same. So there's no expectations that we can actually create, and subconscious healing is meant to be about surrendering those expectations, laying back and relaxing. So the key message here is most of what we do is automated learnt behaviour out of our awareness, but we do have the power to change that. Okay, so here's what the disconnected, ambitious woman would say at this point. But I don't want to see what's in there, it's scary. But the balanced, ambitious woman would say, I understand that healing may involve looking at past experiences, and I know that these experiences are already inside of me, but if I feel them now, I can heal them in a safe environment instead of them coming out when I can't control them. Anxiety about going into the past is really common for my clients, but every single time they come out of a subconscious session, they say that they feel lighter and how magical the experience really was. Again, to demonstrate this, I do just have some screenshots from my clients. So again, if I move my bobblehead. So in the top left here we had, although I had anxiety going into subconscious sessions at first, Becky was patient and skilled in making me feel relaxed and reassured that there's no right or wrong in there. That you can't do anything wrong within the subconscious. Sometimes she would have past experience come up that she had unknowingly held on to, right? The whole point of the subconscious is that we don't know what we're holding on to there. And she was astounded at the revelations and messages that she received, and she felt glowing with healing energy and lighter and present in life. Something that I will also just say is that, these sessions, they are a bit spiritual in nature. We do tune into your higher self, to a higher power, to something more than us. And this is where the spirituality piece comes in. Nico on the right here said, I must admit that I was skeptical at the beginning, but he can openly guarantee that the sessions conducted were amazing. From now on, he's going to let himself let go of his feelings and feel them without judging them. He's also mentioned here his wizard character, and I really love this about Nico's review here, because within the subconscious, maybe we might see things as a wizard character or a magical gnome, or maybe we might go into a past experience. There, like I say, there's no right or wrong. It just completely depends on how our subconscious would like to communicate with us. Melissa said here that she felt so safe and relaxed just to let go. She found herself beyond her body and mind in a deep exploration with me as her anchor, and she felt like it was missing information to feel aligned in her body, mind and spirit. Now, Melissa is a beautiful person and she's a very, very talented somatic practitioner, which is why I love that she gave this review, because she could really see the benefit of this type of work. And lastly, in the bottom right here, we have Aisling. Her poor face is covered, but she said that she had the most beautiful experience. She felt extremely safe as I guided her through an eye-opening journey, and she was able to explore the depths of herself and connect to higher dimensions, feeling at peace, full of love, and guided on her life's mission. So, when you put all of these three things together, consciousness awareness, letting go, and subconscious healing, you really have that deep transformation, and you have the tools that you can use for the rest of your life. So it's decision time. Are you ready and willing to enter or deepen your healing journey? Let's deepen our understanding on the consciousness awareness piece that we spoke about earlier. So we spoke about it at a very high level, and like we learned, awareness is the first step of understanding our inner state, and that is by understanding our level of consciousness, which is fixed and determined by our emotions. You can see here that there are 17 different levels now. Within the Elim online course, which is offered as part of our 5-week Inner Peace program, there's a much more detailed version of this, like I mentioned earlier, but for the purpose of this training, we're showing a slimmed down version. Now, all of this information isn't just something that I've invented and I'm making a course on. It's something that's been around since the 80s, and I received my qualification from my beautiful teachers Laura and James, so we know that this is proven to work. It's been proven to work on hundreds of people throughout the years, and I'm so passionate about teaching it because it has changed my life, and it has also changed my partner's life and the life of those around me. So one thing you might notice about this map, which we've not spoken about yet, are the numbers. What are these numbers? So these are the energetical frequency that is associated to each of the levels. You might hear, the hippies say, "Oh, you're just not matching my vibe." This is the vibe. This is the vibe that they are talking about. And it's the energy associated to each of the emotions, each of the levels of consciousness. So a really good example, which will help us to understand this, is anger can be seen as a really negative emotion, but it has so much energy attached to it compared to shame and guilt. So we can see anger here is at 150, shame and guilt is at 20 to 30. So quite often, it can feel a lot better to be in anger, and we can actually use that as a springboard to reach more positive states of consciousness. So subconsciously, we might subconsciously choose anger to feel. It is also important to note, that these levels are not better or worse than one another. They are all in equality, but we have to put them within this sense, within this order, because it really helps our brain to understand the dualistic nature of these, even though we don't really live in a dualistic world in reality. I digress. The better we are at letting go of these lower 8 levels, even though they're not better or worse than each other, the lower 8 levels factually are controlled by our ego. So the higher up on the map that we go, the more access we have to love, to integrity, the more access we have to truth, to healing and forgiveness, which is all of the things that we find at the higher 8 levels. And at the lower 8 levels, we can find a lot of addiction. We may be a victim most of our lives. Things are we believe that things are happening to us, and why is the world doing this to us? There is a lot of blame in these lower 8 levels, okay? So people don't often take responsibility, and it explains why people don't take responsibility when they are in shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, desire, anger, or pride. Every emotion carries or every level of consciousness carries a purpose. So if we take guilt as an example, we may consciously understand, right, that guilt doesn't feel good. It's not a good feeling. But with guilt, the purpose of it is to really understand what we value in life, understand in which ways we want to change, and then we can implement those changes and let go. Holding on to the guilt doesn't actually help anyone, but on a subconscious level, there is a belief that if we punish ourselves, then we perceive that to feel safer than someone else punishing us. From a survival perspective, if we're getting punished by other people, then how are we going to survive, right? So we can subconsciously hold on to that guilt a lot longer than we need to. And wallowing in guilt actually doesn't mean that we create the changes that we need and the reason that it's there. Now, depending where we are on this map, you can think of each of the levels as like 17 different pairs of sunglasses, okay? Every time we put on a different pair of sunglasses, we can see the world through a completely different lens. And the way that I've decided to demonstrate this on this training is to show how maybe 17 different people throughout each different level of consciousness might view this training through a completely different lens, right? So you can all watch the same training, but you can view it through a completely different lens. So someone in the level of guilt might think, oh, I should have known this already, and I've been so bad at managing my emotions, and they may feel guilty that with everything that they feel like they've perceived that they've done wrong. That is a level of guilt. Someone in apathy might think, what's the point? Nothing's going to change. We spoke about that a little bit earlier within the beliefs. Pride is a good one. I've managed my life fine. I'm fine at managing my emotions, and I don't need to learn anymore. When in reality, you know, I could really challenge you with that and say that everyone can learn everything. You know, there's so much more that we can learn and we never know it all, but that is part of being in pride, thinking that we know it all. I really love working with people, which is why I've highlighted it here in the level of courage. You know, they may see this training as something or as an opportunity to learn and grow. So you can see here, everyone could take the same training, but these may be different things that they could think about the training, which is really their different levels of consciousness, which is driving that. So the challenge that I mentioned earlier is on this slide. So here is your challenge. For the next 7 days, I would like you to, in every moment of awareness, you know, every time you feel something, whether it's happy or sad, pissed off, I'd like you just to pause and take in 3 big belly breaths. This will help to recenter you. And then try and identify where you are on this map and write it down in the notes on your phone. There was a study which was completed by Brené Brown where she interviewed thousands of people and she asked them to identify how they were feeling in any given day, and the only 3 things that they could name were happy, sad and pissed off. So it shows us how many of us are walking around blindly and cannot name the emotions that we're feeling. So I'd love it if you could try and name the emotion looking at this map and just start to see over the next 7 days how this small practice can really start to break the loop in emotional highs and lows. So before we get into the final guided exercise, let me ask you this. Is learning how to navigate your emotions something that you are willing to do? Because right now, you know, I really hope that your eyes have been opened up around how much is possible for us and how simple it is. And I would also ask the question, where do you see yourself in the next 6 to 12 months? Do you see yourself continuing down this path where you are at the moment with your current level of awareness and your current methods? Or would you like to have so much more self-awareness that you can navigate any challenge in life and feel at ease and in balance? And if so, you know, if you do feel like you're ready to deepen your healing journey or even begin it, I'd love to invite you to take this path together. You probably have a lot of questions at this stage. We're almost at the hour of how this 5-week one-to-one program could work for you specifically, and the best way to do that would be for you and I to have a conversation. So here is your next step. So your next step here is to complete your application by clicking on the bottom below and take 2 minutes out of your time to fill in this form, and this will allow you to book in a consultation call with me personally. I would like to say that this is not a pushy or awkward sales call. It actually really helps me to get to know you and to connect with you on that level, face to face, and it's always a welcome use of my energy. I can also assure you that these calls, you know, they won't be a pushy sort of awkward sales call, because these tools are just not going to work for you if I'm having to push you there. So it's not within my interest to do that. We do have very limited spots because this is a deeply personal one-to-one program. So I urge you to apply now. We recently had a client commit who wasn't ready to start, but she knew that she needed this work. So like her, you can lock in today's investment because it's very, very likely that these prices are going to go up in the near future. I also get it, you know, jumping on a call can feel a little bit scary for people. And if the thought of jumping on a call makes you scared, I would firstly like you to identify that this is simply the level of consciousness of fear and probably needs some love. And I can make a commitment to you right now that this call will be very casual and it will be full of love. And, you know, if all this call did for you was to help you feel 10% lighter, then would it be worth it? Now, as I originally promised, we have this visualization exercise. So this will likely last around 5 minutes. I will want you to try and take note that your ego mind may try and overtake with overthinking. What can I make for dinner? What can I do next? So I invite you to come in with an open mind and just really allow yourself to flow with it. Also remember, you are always in control. So if you feel uncomfortable at any time, please feel free to make the empowered decision to not follow my voice, and you can stop whenever you want because you are your own best judge of character. So I will just give you a few seconds now to make yourself comfortable and relaxed. If you like, you can put in some headphones if you'd like a more immersive experience, or perhaps you need to pause this video right now and go to the bathroom or close the door. So whenever you're ready, I invite you to close your eyes and to sit comfortably on whatever you're sitting on, and straighten your back and just start to deepen your breath. Purely focusing on the inhaling and the exhaling. Start to notice the quality of the air in your nostrils. And simply allow each exhale to allow you to sink deeper and deeper into this present moment. And start observing your chest and your belly, releasing any tension here as it rises and falls. Allowing your shoulders to relax, releasing any tension in your jaw or your facial muscles. And just continuing to really focus on your breath. And I'd like you to think of a time today or yesterday that you perhaps felt a negative emotion. And I'd like you to take a look at the scene around you. Now, instead of going into any thoughts or blame here, I'd like you to pause the scene and just focus on how this feels in your body. What happens in your body when you think of this time? And without any judgment, just simply allow yourself to feel that and observe the feelings in your body. What sensations does it bring? Perhaps you tense up a little bit. And as you do this, I would like you to now imagine that you are being given a remote control. And this remote allows you to feel any emotion on the full spectrum. Notice the buttons on the remote show anger, guilt, fear, love, joy, peace, neutrality. And each button has a different colour. And as you gaze at the remote, your attention is brought towards the button that says peace. And you press it. As you press that button, you notice how its power releases all of the tension in your body. And you start to feel lighter and lighter, almost as though you're floating outside of your body, weightless. You allow yourself to feel a rush of warm and calm energy beam onto your hands and your feet, recharging you. Your shoulders start to feel more open and relaxed, like they're gently being pulled back and opening your chest, allowing for deeper breaths. And you can feel gentle wave-like sensations of peace moving through your entire body, providing a rhythmic and soothing feeling, almost like the calm ocean wave. And you start to feel a warm sensation all around your heart, as if it's wrapped in a soft, cozy blanket, providing a sense of emotional security. And as you embrace these feelings, your peaceful energy starts to beam out into the entire space around you. The scene starts to move again, and you notice that this time the scenery is changing. The colours become brighter and the temperature becomes warmer, and any negative energy transforms beyond your eyes with this energy of inner peace. And you start to feel gratitude, as by pressing this button it has given you permission to feel inner peace and to let go of what no longer serves you. And to radiate this inner peace, you start to see how this changes everything around you. You smile on your face as you bask in gratitude from this shift of consciousness. Allowing this energy to fill up every cell in your body. And I now invite you to slowly bring your awareness back to this present moment. Feeling the surface that you're lying on, noticing the sounds around you, firstly inside the room. And now expanding your awareness to outside the room. Now take a big deep breath in, and as you exhale, gently wiggle your fingers and toes and begin to stretch your body in a way that feels comfortable. And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes and just take a single moment to reorientate yourself to your surroundings. Notice how you feel when you carry this energy of peace inside of you. Welcome back, and if you need a couple of minutes just to pause this video to come back to the present moment, that's absolutely fine. Please take that pause here. But if not, welcome back. Now, although that's not a sort of deep subconscious session, because usually within that space you are the one deciding how things work instead of it just being one way in my voice. But I hope that this really gave you the opportunity to start to feel what it's like to have choice over how you're feeling. And yes, I have moved rooms. So, instead of waiting and delaying and telling yourself that you're not ready and you want this remote control, I'm inviting you to recognize that your time is now to reconnect with yourself and to reconnect with your inner peace. As you know, you're invited to join a call with me, and if you are invited to be part of my highly personal 5-week one-to-one program, then I will extend that invitation to you. But if you're not a good fit, I will be completely honest and I will do my best to point you in the right direction and to support you through your challenges, because, I would be doing a disservice to you, myself, and my business if this isn't the right healing for you. So like I said earlier, if all this call did was make you feel lighter inside, would it be worth it? And if so, I'd like you to hit that button on the screen, because taking this first step could really make a big difference in your life. And I'll see you very soon.